RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, statements, or opinions of its guests, advertisers, or even its viewers. The information contained in this program is not to be construed as medical or legal advice. An appearance on this show is not necessarily an endorsement, and as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Well, good afternoon, Patriots, and welcome to another edition of Occam's Razor. I hope everyone here is having a lovely day. The VP debate was last night, and I gotta say, I'm feeling all kinds of things about Mike Pence. Fox is on Mushroom says there was a loud mechanical sound coming from the sky over the East Coast last night. Sky machines. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today. The news is coming hot and heavy. The election under a month away. So do me a favor. Sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a very brief word from our sponsor. With the elections only weeks away, you need to be prepared for the worst. Civil unrest is getting so ugly in spots, it could bring the entire system to its knees. And food shortages are a definite possibility, especially since many are predicting a second wave of the beer bug just around the corner. Grocery stores and food manufacturers are already preparing themselves for a nationwide panic. Will you be ready if that happens? Well, you can't wait until it's too late. I urge you to visit preparewithredpill78.com and build your emergency food supply today. The preparedness experts at My Patriot Supply are the only folks I trust, and you can too. And right now you can save $100 on a full 4-week food supply of their delicious, nutritious meals that give you a life-saving 2,000 calories a day. My Patriot Supply is here to help you prepare for the worst, and saving $100 off their life-saving 4-week supply of food is too good a deal to pass up. The next wave of CV-19 could be worse than the first, or the response of people could be worse than the disease itself. Go to preparewithredpill78.com and get ready now. That's preparewithredpill78.com. You'll kick yourself if you don't, and remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. Welcome back, Patriots. I hope everyone's having a lovely day. Methods, how are you, my friend?
Man, I'm doing good. I woke up very content with watching the debate last night. I had zero plans to watch it. Nothing about it was interesting to me. And I was like, you know what? I'll start watching it for a few minutes. And then I just got hooked watching it. And yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised with how it went.
Yeah, Pence has this just calm demeanor about him. It's like he's like slowly staring into your eyes as he chokes the life out of you.
Right.
Like, you know, just like he does. President Trump is like the front man. He's aggressive. He's loud. Pence is just like subdued. You know, he closes his eyes. He shakes his head, and he's like, let me tell you a story. I'm going to show you how you're wrong, and this is how we're going to do it. And he didn't put up with any BS from the moderator, who I believe is writing Nancy Pelosi's memoirs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, all the way down the line of who's moderating these are connected to the Democrats one way or another.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you about Pence. It was like the silent assassin. Like, he picked his words carefully. I know some people have not liked Pence for a while. There's been all these theories about him and stuff. But outside of that, just the optics of what's going on, having an election that's about to happen, and he's the vice president vice presidential candidate for the situation. I think he nailed it. And to your point, like, it reminds me of, like, if we want to call, Trump the Don, like he's the mafioso kingpin, then Pence will be the guy in the corner that says nothing.
He's the accountant.
Right, yeah. He's the one that's completely quiet, and he has that deadpan stare on his face, and you don't want to make him angry because you can tell. Like, I imagine Pence angry is scorched earth, and we'll just never see it.
Yeah, and what really excited me was, I guess, the end, because he brought up China, he brought up the recently declassified documents, he brought up the Supreme Court. Kamala had no retort for any of it. It was pretty clear that he just completely mopped the floor with her.
Right. I mean, anytime he would bring up good points, she would have to do the laugh off stuff that Biden was trained to do during the last debate, and then just shake her head and say that's just not true when it was actual facts being presented. And that mic drop moment of him saying that they haven't accepted the election from 2016.
Oh, yes.
I was spying on the campaign, and she couldn't talk over there. And as soon as they brought up trying to impeach the president through the Senate and going through all that over a perfectly good phone call, go back and watch that. The tweet is, I have it in a tweet on my page. Her head drops and she knows. And if you turn up the volume, you might have to find it somewhere else. She even has like a moment. Like, she's like, oh no, he brought that up. Yeah. I mean, to me, it's the best it could have been for Vice President Pence with the energy that he carries himself with.
Absolutely. Now, I know that this is a divisive issue. I mean, we've been talking for years about whether or not Pence is a white hat or a black hat, and I know that people have their minds made up one way or the other. I've always said that we should reserve judgment and let it play out, but I will say this. If Pence is a black hat, he is the worst black hat on the face of the earth, because it would not have been in his best interest as a black hat to go after Kamala so thoroughly and completely, and to literally wipe the table with her face. She had no retort for anything that he had to say. And to your point, she looked very, very uncomfortable up there. Being confronted with all of those things that are clearly indefensible, things that there is no answer to other than, yes, we tried to impeach the president for no good reason. Yes, we engaged in a coup to remove the president for no good reason other than our own self-preservation. I think that it was a win for the Patriots and for President Trump and his reelection. Now, everything else is up to interpretation. But as far as I'm concerned, Mike Pence did a good job for President Trump, and he really showed that Kamala Harris is not who you want in the White House. I saw this article from Babylon Bee that said support for Kamala Harris drops as Americans realize they would have to listen to her voice for the next 4 years.
Right, yeah, I saw that.
And that's legit, I mean, she is, oh man, she just kind of stirs something up inside of you. I mean, like, it just, a lot of people get angry listening to Kamala Harris. She's snotty. She's rude. She's self-entitled. She has, what is this? I got pop-ups on my computer. What the heck happened there? Yeah, she's rude. She's self-entitled. She did some bad things when she was AG of California, and I don't think she's done anything of note in this office here. I mean, probably the most noteworthy thing is that she got chosen as Joe Biden's vice presidential candidate, and I don't know how noteworthy that is.
Right. I mean, but she did push the whole this is MAGA country conspiracy theory and push the lynching stuff. So there's that. But no, to your point, I mean, her hubris showed last night, and it was absolutely disgusting to watch. That was the worst part of it. And it made the stuff that Pence would say even more like sweeter to watch, because you have such a contrast going on. You see the hubris, the smugness, I'm just going to disagree with all the facts that I know that the audience has seen, but I'm still just going to say it's not true and laugh things off. And I mean, the side-by-sides did not help Kamala at all while Pence was talking.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, yeah, there's things that have been said about Pence along the way, and I see some people talking about it in the chat. If we're talking about face value of what's happening here,
that's it.
That Pence did a fantastic job for the president. If we're supporting the POTUS and he has him as his VP, it didn't get switched out like what some people thought would happen. It's Pence on the ticket. Then Pence did Donald Trump justice last night, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, he displayed a certain level of humility, even when he was bringing up those counterpoints and pointing out these, illegal activities that the Democrats have been involved in. He was quiet and he was reserved about it, but he did not allow himself to get trampled on. I think a lot of people have seen Pence as kind of a doormat, kind of a wet blanket. He stands behind the president and he's there to do whatever the president says. And to be fair, that honestly is the job of a vice presidential candidate or running mate or, vice president once they're in office. Their job is simply to support the president, to be a cheerleader. And Mike Pence has done that in this debate. And, whether or not he has a spotless history, whether or not he's a good person, that is not even a part of the conversation, because you said it. We're taking it at face value for the performance of this debate. I will say, if Mike Pence is evil, if he's a bad guy, I'm convinced that that will all come out and he'll get what's due him. But in the meantime, if he's there and he's supposed to be supporting the president and making the ticket look good, he's doing a great job as far as I'm concerned.
Right. I mean, the next few weeks and all this stuff going out, all the sound bites that we're using and spreading on social media is to win over who might be on the fence about voting, might be voting for the first time. So that's the optics about all this stuff. And I agree with you, too. Pence is basically like a potted plant in the corner that does what he's told that needs to happen. He's not taking his son on Air Force Two around the world making business deals with our enemies. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, if things play out later on, then okay, we'll deal with it face on. But for now, I think Pence really did a good job, and I bet Kamala's happy that there's not a second debate. I mean, she knew by the end that she got wrecked.
Yeah, and I mean, it was obvious to everyone. We had a poll from Telemundo. Now, Telemundo, their first poll for the presidential debate between President Trump and candidate Biden, overwhelmingly favored President Trump. I want to say it was like 3-1. Like 75% of the respondents said that President Trump was the victor in the debate and that his performance was, totally awesome. Now, in this latest debate, in this latest poll, Pence got 74% and Kamala got 26%. Now, the funny part of it is Telemundo freaked out because it showed that their viewers favored Mike Pence, and they deleted the poll. They got rid of it because they didn't want this to be a public thing here. So there were 14,834 votes, and keep in mind, this is a Twitter poll, okay? So, I mean, it very easily could have been stacked in the favor of the president, but I honestly trust these Twitter polls more than I trust polls from, like, Reuters or, any of these other polling places, Rasmussen, Q, any of them. I mean, the thing about it is that people's opinions on Twitter are not representative of the total electorate, but they do go a far way in showing the balance of people that are out there thinking one way or the other. And it's a random sampling, obviously, of everybody on Twitter. And if it is only because more MAGA people, more conservatives were able to find the poll and vote on it, I mean, it still goes a long way to show that Mike Pence and President Trump are moving in the right direction. Now, anytime you get a poll from any of those official polling places, they have a random sampling of like 35 people. I say random in quotations because a lot of times they're not necessarily random. They oversample from Democrat voters, and that's how you get polls that say that President Trump is 8 to 15 points behind Joe Biden. Clearly, that's not the case. I mean, if President Trump had the level of enthusiasm and the level of support that he had back in 2016, he would win. All right. But the fact is, we've got 4 years of winning under our belts. And I know that the enthusiasm here in 2020 is leaps and bounds above what it was back in 2016. You've got so many people who were not convinced about President Trump, his motives, and what he was going to do for this country back in 2016. And many of those people have completely changed their minds and said, you know what, I was wrong. I was wrong about President Trump back in 2016. I don't know too many people who have seen what President Trump and Mike Pence have done over the last 4 years and said to themselves, man, I can't believe I supported Trump back in 2016. He followed through on all his campaign promises, and there's no way I'm going to vote for him again in 2020.
Right, and then they've seen, especially like people like our buddy Woke Societies said, like he watched how horrible the media's been, the Democrats have been in lying about the president over the last several years. They've kind of been, not even kind of, they've been fully exposed to everybody that's even casually paying attention. And when they look at both sides, if they accuse Trump saying, oh, he did this during the rally, he lied about this, that, and the other. And if they took the little bit of time to go look for it and fact check it for themselves, they learned that they were just lied to by the television.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, and I see multiple people talking in the chat that Kamala knew the questions beforehand. I don't know if we're getting to that point yet, Red Pill. But yes, that was kind of hat tipped during the debate about it, that she understood where the conversation was going.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you as you're talking. I want you to continue to break it down.
All right. So yeah, basically during it, Pence made a good point about stuff, and they were talking, I believe, about the economy, and then the moderator, I don't even remember her name because it doesn't really matter to me, but she said, yeah, sure, whatever. You could have said any name and I would have agreed, but said, yeah, that's a good segue for our next topic. And Kamala agreed, and you can watch her facial features. She knew where things were going, and she said, yes, that's a great segue, when they didn't know what the topic was specifically. How can you agree with that? And let's just say that she didn't know and she was just following what I saw social cues. Why is Kamala so interested in connecting with the moderator and agreeing with that person? Right. And then when you watch Pence go on and make good points, Kamala would stop looking at Pence and would look at the moderator with these eyes like, you better take over.
Right. Time to cut him off.
Yeah, right. And then she would be like, thank you, Vice President Pence. And Pence would just keep talking. That was something I didn't expect from, like, you would assume Pence is a polite guy. He'd apologize for going too long talking at someplace. Mm-hmm. He would just talk straight through the obvious, hey, you need to stop talking, your time is up, to make his points. And I respected that as well. But to the point, she did obviously know where things were going. And our buddy Shim on Twitter had pointed out that moderator had been quoted saying that she kept her questions to herself and neither side were supposed to have them.
Yeah. I thought it looked like there was a bit of collusion, if you will, between Kamala Harris and Susan, right. What's her name? It sure seemed like it. And, but I mean, even in the end, despite knowing where the debate was going, what the questions were going to be about, it was pretty devoid of any real answers about what her and Joe Biden were going to be, preparing to do if they won. Mike Pence did a great job of spelling out policy, pointing out things that were, we can look to if we get another Trump-Pence administration. But Kamala Harris did a lot of, what do they call it in basketball when you dodge or you weave, you shuffle or something? I don't know what it is. But she was moving around on the court aimlessly, and she, never went for a basket. She didn't want to answer anything. And I think that it's pretty clear that the reason she couldn't was because if the American people really knew the policies that they were going to be implementing, there's no way they'd vote for him. Now, she did admit to the fact that they will be raising taxes. And Joe Biden has said he's only going to raise taxes on people over $400,000. But, Bill Clinton said the same thing back, what was it, 1996? He said he wasn't going to raise taxes except on, wealthy people, but then people making $30,000 a year or more ended up, paying higher taxes. So, who wants more taxes? President Trump is lowering our taxes. Let's have another Trump-Pence administration, and we can get even lower taxes, maybe even abolish the IRS.
Right. Now, and when Pence had doubled and tripled...
Sorry, juking.
Right. I knew that he was going to Google it later if he didn't get the answer. But as far as when Pence cornered her on, y'all are going to stack the court, right? We all said it. Your party said it. You and Joe are dodging the question. And he did it, I think 3 times. Mm-hmm. And the second and third time, she's like, I am going to answer if you let me talk. And then she answered one of them. She turned around and just said that, oh, you want to talk about stacking the court? Let's talk about you guys being racist. And she went that direction.
Oh my God.
And then he's like, for the record, they didn't answer it. And then she finally just had this look on her face and looked straight at the moderator and said, move on with her eyes.
Let's go. Moving on to the next one. Now, specifically also, she did not want to talk about China. Like you said, she avoided having the conversation about China. You found this tweet from Lance Gooden and sent it over. And it looks like he has written a letter to Congress. He suggests that China is not being condemned by Biden and Harris because he believes that the CCP is funneling money into Biden's campaign through green groups. Now, there has been a lot of unaccountable money coming in to this election, specifically going to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, which is from, groups that are either anonymous or people who are anonymous and like don't have any jobs. Where is all this money coming from? It would make a lot of sense if this money was coming from China, because obviously they want Joe Biden to be in office. They don't want to have to deal with somebody like President Trump.
Right. And I mean, imagine how much, if they're really, if we want to say white hats are fully paying attention to this election and all the money moving around, what better, sting operation. I know we said this about 2018, but I'm just saying, hear me out. All this money funneling around can give you a lot of answers because of how important this election is to the left. It's very important to us, but they know that their party is over with a Trump win and the House and the Senate being Republican.
Yeah.
They know it's over for them, and they know that all their heroes and everybody that's been like they've been answering to will probably be arrested and face punishments for their crimes. So having stuff like this come out, and where you've got, actual congressmen asking for investigations into this funneling of money, you go after the money sources and show where they all funnel and tie them to foreign collusion, and you still have Trump win. And there's no real they're accusing Trump of colluding with Russia again. Hell, they tried to say that there was Russian agents at the hospital.
Yes.
I mean, they don't have anything else to use, and that's why Pelosi's bringing up the 25th Amendment. They don't have anything else to use. So they need to go after the money and tie it all to foreign stuff, show what happened in 2016 and beyond, and then you could take things apart and we can move along, into a better future.
Absolutely. Now, one of the biggest moments from the debate last night, and this should show you how desperate the Democrats are, but it was a fly landing on Mike Pence's head for about 2 minutes. And we've got this clip here from the Daily Caller. This is actually Steve Schmidt, the founder of the Lincoln Project. And he suggests that a fly on Mike Pence is a sign historically of sin and the mark of the devil. Now, I want to point out that we had a fly land on Barack Obama's face. There was a fly that landed on Hillary Clinton's face. And when people, on our side were saying much the same, they called us crazy. So this is how desperate they are. They're pointing to a fly landing on Mike Pence's head. But it gets weirder. Let's go ahead and take a look. Hold on. Actually, I'm sorry, Methods. I got to share my screen so that you can see it. Okay, there we go. And share audio. Okay, here it goes.
He broke the rules. He was blustering through the finish time on all of this stuff. And so if this was a normal debate, his behavior would have been scored very, very poorly. It would have been on the higher end of weird behavior. And not for nothing. I mean, I don't think it's ever a good sign when a fly lands on your head for 2 minutes. That's a sign all through history of sin, and historically, biblically. Maybe you wouldn't normally say this after it's only safe to say this, after midnight. But a fly, he who commands the fly has always been seen historically as the mark of the devil. So I'm not
Steve.
Relevant, but having the fly
now as a journalist. Now I have to ask for the record, are you joking? Because the fly could have landed on anyone.
Yes, but it didn't. It landed on Mike Pence, and it says something. I don't think karmic about the status of the campaign as it implodes. Look, you have a Fox News poll that has
All right, that's good enough. That's good enough right there. Oh my lord! Even the reporter at MSDNC is cracking up hearing this. Incredible that this is where he's going with it. Now, do you guys honestly believe that Steve Schmidt is a man of God? I mean, I know that I don't. I don't believe that this means anything to him. I think that this is clearly another case of projection. He is trying to project everything about the Democrats onto Mike Pence and President Trump.
Right. I'm glad I was muted through most of that because I was dying laughing.
I did too. I was dying.
Because he's so serious and he's such a clown. I mean, to have that voice, because I see him on Twitter and stuff and talking all that. And the media guy laughed. And he's like, wait a second, this guy's supposed to be on our side. Let's go ahead and give this guy an opportunity. And he doubles down about it. Yeah, that's where we are. I knew as soon as I saw that fly land, I know digital fly, a Trojan horse fly to bring the Rona to Pence. I've seen it all on the internet.
Yeah.
Right. The drone stuff, drone technology, people have been sending me blueprints. But the idea that as soon as I saw the fly land on him, I was like, yep, there's the talking point. That's where things are going to go. And for them to take it immediately to, it's a sign from God that Pence is the devil on the news. I mean, just imagine many people just turning to their spouses and are like, really? Is that a thing? And then they Google it. Like, I mean, that's how far they went, but they want to say this movement is a bunch of crazy people. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, here's where it gets weird, guys. Here's where it gets weird. Look at this tweet right here. KevBoat44 says, someone knew the fly was coming. So this domain right here, flywillvote.com, it was registered last night. Now, the fly landed on Mike Pence at 2:43 a.m. UTC. But the domain was registered at 2:23 a.m. UTC, and it was registered from Washington, D.C., which would indicate that someone knew that that fly was going to land on Mike Pence. Some are saying it's a drone because of this, but it could also be computer animation. But that fly was exactly the same thing as news reports about mass pew-pews being released before the shooting, or Building 7 fell down and was announced on BBC before it went down. Someone knew that fly graphic was going to happen, so they registered the domain. Now, rather than talk about how Pence was booted Kamala into the gutter, it's all about the fly. I mean, it does give quite the conversation for things to have people preoccupied by. So I don't know how much of a topic we should make of this, but I mean, I find this to be fairly compelling. 20 minutes before the fly actually lands on Mike Pence, someone in Washington, D.C. nonetheless, registers this domain, Fly Will Vote. What do you think about that?
I think that it makes sense in 2020 for us to be discussing Flygate
Absolutely.
and digital insect collusion to win an election. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. What you just talked about is fascinating. It's very curious. If it all checks out on the dates or the timestamps and all that stuff, then definitely interesting to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, this whole year, I'm just kind of ready for it to be over because it's been one thing after another.
Yeah.
And I mean, at least it wasn't a murder hornet. I mean, that's all I got to say.
Oh my God, can you believe? And just so you guys know, I didn't just go with this screenshot right here. I actually verified it myself. I saw verifications from other people. It's legit. It was registered 20 minutes before the fly landed on Mike Pence. Obviously, that's why we called it Lord of the Flies. I thought it was too cute to pass up. But keeping in line with the debate, President Trump and Joe Biden have both put out statements saying that they will not participate in the debate on the 15th because the debate committee, whoever it is, they wanted to make it a virtual debate. Now, I want to make this announcement because it's a perfect segue into this. An excellent segue, Susan. Because we're still having the MAGA meetup. President Trump is looking at doing a rally on the 15th. So I will still broadcast the rally. We will still have the MAGA meetup. And JR sent me an itinerary here. It's going to be from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. As of today, we've raised $3,226 of, I believe, the $6,500 that we are trying to raise. The additional monies that aren't raised are going to be paid for by myself and JR. We've got over 200 people currently signed up with 72 donations. And it's going to be a lot more interactive because we're going to have a Q&A session. My camera is going to be patched into the big screen LCD. My voice is also going to be patched into the PA system, so I'm going to be interacting with you guys directly. We're going to have trivia, Patriot trivia. We're going to have a contest for the most patriotic apparel, male and female. There's only 2 genders, and we're going to have a contest for the best MAGA beard. I think JR is already in the running for that. There's also going to be a 50-50 raffle. Last time the winner took home $400. Prizes are going to be given away. We've got stuff like Trump bears, Trump flags, and Trump apparel. And anyone who donates $50 or more is guaranteed a selfie with JR, and I might jump in there with you guys. There's also going to be free food. Again, it's going to be pulled pork and bangin' mac and cheese. Of course, we're going to have the porta potties, so nobody has to worry. I believe there will be some type of beverage there as well. So if you guys want to come, please do. We've still got room for probably another 150 or 200 people if you guys want to make it. And if you can donate, I ask that you do. But again, I'm going to be making up the difference if we don't get there, because the whole part of it is that we want to put on a free event and we want to be able to interact with you guys. So I will get the link pulled up here again. JR, would you do me a favor and send me that link again? And he's continuing to make awesome memes for the event. He put myself, Methods, and him and Seasoned Pixels in the Avengers. I think that one was probably my favorite so far. Pretty sweet. But with President Trump moving the debate, you know, I mean, it's kind of shaking it up a little bit. He wants to move it from the 15th because they want to do it virtual. And Methods, correct me if I'm wrong, they want to do it virtual probably because President Trump is just coming out of his Rona treatment.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole argument, but really they could just mute him easier or have technical glitches and stuff happen to him and all that. But yeah, it has to do because the left is sticking with this. He's still got the Rona. He's still, you know, the virus walking around and all that.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like they've put out a statement. They say the American people should not be deprived of the chance to see the 2 candidates for president debate face-to-face 2 more times because the Commission on Presidential Debates wants to protect Joe Biden. That's a pretty bold statement, and it's correct. It remains extremely suspect that the CPD announced the brand new virtual format at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time today, immediately after Vice President Mike Pence just wiped the floor with Senator Kamala Harris. Clearly, the commission wanted to shift attention away from Pence's complete victory. He's wiping his sword right now as we speak. As the president said, a virtual debate is a non-starter and would clearly be a gift to Biden because he would be relying on his teleprompter from his basement bunker. Voters should have the opportunity to directly question Biden's 47-year failed record of leadership. We agree that this should happen on October 22nd, and accordingly, the third debate should then be shifted back 1 week to October 29th, almost immediately before the election. The CPD and the media cannot hide Joe Biden forever. Americans deserve to hear directly from both presidential candidates on these dates, October 22nd and October 29th. Now, that's coming from Bill Stepien, who is the Trump 2020 campaign manager. I don't know anything about Bill, Methods. Are you familiar with Bill?
I've seen his name around, but not specifically.
Yeah, okay. Well, so now Biden actually put out a statement himself saying that he, too, will not participate in a virtual debate. And that is kind of odd. I mean, I think that President Trump is right. His campaign statement's correct when he says that this virtual debate would be devised specifically to protect Biden. If he's sitting in his basement bunker, I mean, they can have as many teleprompters as they want. They can put his answers on a big 75-inch, LCD screen. It would give him all of the benefits in the world. I mean, he could wear an earpiece again. There's all kinds of reasons. So I'm kind of shocked to see that Biden himself is not willing to participate in a virtual debate. Maybe He's just trying to not do another debate in general.
Well, he can have a big screen 4K television with all his talking points if he's doing it from home. But yeah, I mean that's what they want to have happen, and the fact that Trump is like, no, it's a waste of time. I'm just going to do a rally. And then Biden's like, yeah, I'm not going to do it either. It's just so at this point, we just need to vote. Let's just get this over with.
Yeah.
If you can go ahead and go vote, go do it. Let's knock this out. And I mean, I'm just looking forward to what happens on November 3rd and 4th.
Yeah. Well, probably for the next week or two after, I think we're going to be counting votes. This is going to, Methods, do you remember the election between Al Gore and George W. Bush?
Yeah, I remember not caring about it.
Okay, well, it was a couple of years into my ability to vote. So I want to say it was the first. Was it the first presidential election? I think that was the first presidential election I voted in. Because I was 20. Yeah, I was 21. I think I was 21. Maybe. Yeah. No, God, I might have been 20. I don't know. It was a long time ago. It was a heck of a long time ago. And, I was thinking the other day, dude, I've been driving for like 30 years. Can you believe that?
Yeah, because you're old, right?
Because I'm old, man. I can't do it. It's a weird thing to think about. But yeah, I remember that election because when I went to the polls and I came home and voted and, I watched the returns. And when I went to bed, they said Al Gore was president. And then when I went to bed at like 12:30 or something like that. And I woke up in the morning and I go out on the front porch and I get my paper because I still got a paper back then. And it said George W. Bush is president. And what ensued in the days after, them going after each other, the hanging chads, the recounts, going to the Supreme Court. I mean, the whole thing, I felt that there was this like unresolved cloud hanging over the country and not having that certainty of who won and who was your president. I think that was traumatic. I think it was traumatic for the country, and that was before, September 11th. So, it kind of set into motion a whole series of events that traumatized the country just over and over and over again. So I hate to think that we're going to have to go through something like that again. But clearly we need to be certain. We need to be 100% crystal clear on President Trump's victory. There's no other way to go about it.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going to happen. That's part of what's exciting to me. Of course, nervous a little bit for the country because we want everything to go smooth, and we know that the left will do whatever they can and pretty much have to this point. But I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out during the election around those days and I guess weeks to come. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to make what you're talking about with Gore and Bush. What happened back then is going to pale into comparison what's been going on here. But I wonder here, because if we want to take our favorite Anon at their word about how Trump planned this stuff when it comes to giving out the medicine for free with the Regeneron.
Yes.
Right. Then what else is already planned to do, be taken care of? And the election is the most important thing right now. I know we all want arrest and indictments and all that stuff, but this election is it. This is the turning point for all of it.
Yeah, no, it clearly is. And, let's talk about that for a second, because our favorite Anon made a comment last night, combat tactics, Mr. Ryan, and we have a new post, or maybe these are just the posts from yesterday. Yeah, there's a post from yesterday. Combat tactics, Mr. Ryan. That's from a scene in The Hunt for Red October when the captain steered the submarine into the path of the oncoming torpedo so that they hit the torpedo before it had time to arm itself. It's exactly what President Trump did. Did he infect himself so that he could go in there, get the treatment, and then release it to the entire country and say, hey, we have the proof. This is the legit cure right here. But either way, by making it immediately available and sending it out through the military, sending it out to hospitals all over the country and offering it to people for free, he's completely negated any fears that anyone need have about going to the polls on November 3rd. And I think it was a brilliant move.
Right. And I'm not, as far as him actually infecting himself, I'm not too sure about that. I have no problem with the theory. If anything, I don't think we'll ever know the exact truth about it.
Never.
But if we're going to lean into that about him intentionally being involved in this situation, then he would just intentionally take a false positive test.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
true,
all you'd have to do is have a pawpaw or a goat or something just to test it, and it would be positive. And then he could say, all right, and then they would already know what medications to use. And then they're going to give it out to the public and stuff. So at the very least, Trump wouldn't technically be lying if he said he tested positive, if he took a test that has been known for, what did they say, how they would, I can't remember the exact words, but I'm not a doctor, maybe the audience can help us, but how they magnify looking for the virus in the system like 30 or 40 times through some of these tests, and they'll find something to at least pop it to where it is positive. I mean, that's all he would have had to do was, okay, he tested positive and play along with it.
Right.
And then now we just move on. That I will buy. If it's not what we're being told verbatim, that's where my money would be.
I mean, who's to say that isn't what happened? I mean, that is totally plausible. I would say that President Trump on those videos didn't appear to be in like on death's door. Okay. I mean, he looked just fine, maybe a little hoarse, maybe a little bit slower. But, I mean, it's totally plausible. That very well could have happened. And it all could have been a ploy just to get the Regeneron on the market and, distribute it into all the hospitals and give it to patients so that they're treated. But I think that it's a brilliant move, however he played it. I think that this was the end goal, to make sure that the medicine was into the hands of doctors who could then use it to essentially turn people around in a 24-hour period. Now, I don't want to go into any more talk on that.
Yeah. Robin in the chat said PCR amplification. Yeah, that's what it is. It's where they search so much by amplifying it that they actually end up getting a positive out of something that technically wouldn't be harmful at all.
Yeah.
And that's how they've gotten a lot of these people to test that way. Thank you, Robin.
All right. So, in the meantime, just before Mike Pence and Kamala Harris had their first debate, I guess the only debate, Joe Biden did a town hall on MSDNC, or maybe it was NBC. But, there was something strange about the people that were involved in the town hall. And I wasn't the only one that caught it. Methods wasn't the only one that caught it. Let's go ahead and take a look. Maybe we need to learn a little bit more about these undecided voters. And we're going to share the screen. Okay, here we go.
Welcome back, Miami, and the town hall meeting with former Vice President Joe Biden taking questions from undecided voters. Peter Gonzalez has the next question.
Welcome to Miami, Mr. Vice President. I was born in Hartford, Connecticut, and I've been living in Coral Gables for the last 20-plus years. We get 4 more years of Trump. Good luck. And good luck with the future attracting younger voters.
Let's go to Ismail Eliano, who voted for Hillary Clinton 4 years ago, but has voted Republican in the past. What's your question for Mr. Biden?
As Vice President, things that Joe Biden said during his speech that resonated.
Wait a second.
What defines America's possibility?
Mateo Gomez joins us now. First-time voter, came to the U.S. from Colombia at age 2. Welcome.
Spent a lot of time in Colombia.
Thank you, Lester, for the introduction.
After watching the debate, Mateo Gomez told us he really didn't feel like he got a whole lot out of it, and it really did not do a lot to help him.
If you had to pull the trigger and vote for someone tomorrow, how would you vote?
Probably Biden in this sense. It would be one because just how unpresidential the whole entire debate was.
Hey, they're saying muted.
It looks like every single voter that they used that was apparently supposed to be an undecided voter had previously been used as somebody who was going to vote for Biden. So they stacked the deck in favor of Joe Biden so that he would look better in the town hall and President Trump would look worse. Joe Biden is not convincing anybody who's on the fence. If somebody's going to be voting for Joe Biden, they were already going to vote for Joe Biden. They also were not going to vote for Donald Trump.
Right. And I mean, obviously Hollywood, there's a lot of free time for actors and gigs are rare. So but the bigger question then you have to ask yourself is how bad is it really for the Biden campaign? I mean, we know the polls are garbage. We know that there's not really any energy for him. We see when he does his events with the circles on the ground, where's the crowd outside wanting to get in, like happening with Trump? Like, how bad is it really? I mean, this would be a good time. We've done this before, Red Pill, but this would be a good time to ask the audience here, now that they're done letting us know that you were muted, and we appreciate that. What percentage popular vote, if we have a fair election, which is a big thing, what percentage popular vote do you believe Donald Trump really has that's going to end up at the end of November? If we have all the votes be smooth, what do you think the popular vote would be for the president?
I have no idea. I think it's going to be a lot, though. A metric crap ton. Well, while you guys are pulling that up, Joe Biden has also given his own statement about why he's not going to be participating in this debate that President Trump doesn't want to debate in. But he says Joe Biden was prepared to accept the CPD's proposal for a virtual town hall, but the president has refused, and Donald Trump clearly does not want to face questions from the voters about his failures on CV-19 and the economy. Lies, lies. As a result, Joe Biden will find an appropriate place to take questions from voters directly on October 15th. I would like to say, if he is actually going to do this methods, then I think that all of us need to do what we can to make sure that we are able to ask Joe Biden questions. Like if they did some type of a call-in, or we can like tag somebody and give questions, man, that would be just brilliant.
Well, now, I mean, they're going to use actors on that stuff anyways. It's controlled beginning to end. And just real quick from the audience, I'm seeing anywhere from a solid 70 to 90%, a lot of 75s, a lot of 80s.
Yeah.
Maybe a few 65s out there. Yeah, I can agree. Like a 70% is my gut.
Yeah, I think
so. Because they have brainwashed a lot of people. And there would be the idea that people are just so used to voting Democrat that they're just going to do it anyways. So, yeah, I would say about 70%, I think, is where we were really at.
Yeah, 70 to 75. I'm going to be a little bit generous. But going back on the idea of how crap the polls are, Fox News is reporting that Biden has gotten a post-debate bounce in crucial battleground states. So that includes Florida, Pennsylvania, and it looks like that's Florida and Pennsylvania. Now, this is from Quinnipiac, which has been, more reliable in the past than some of the other ones. But I just don't buy it. There's no way. I don't buy it at all. Now, in Wisconsin, they're saying 46 to 41%, which, again, that just doesn't make any sense. Have you guys seen what's going on in Wisconsin? I mean, everybody saw the Kenosha kid, but just last night, people were demonstrating in neighborhoods, and they were going from house to house, smashing windows, throwing rocks through living room windows. And, and until that point, there were a lot of people that were supportive of what those demonstrators were doing. I actually saw a video clip, and I forgot to grab it, but a homeowner who had just had his house destroyed by these peaceful protesters, he said, do you realize how many people on this street support you? Well, do you think that those same people are going to continue to support their antics after they've gone through and broken the windows out of their homes and destroyed their living space? I don't think so.
Right. I mean, if they did it to our street here, it would kind of be productive for them because we would lose our rights to vote because we'd be in jail for what we do back to them.
Yeah.
We wouldn't put up with that at all. Now, just real quick, this is a convenient timing. Ryan Andrews in the chat is asking about my YouTube channel. So, Rip, I'm just going to go ahead and do that.
Go ahead.
I'm dropping the link in the chat for anybody that wants it. I made the announcement yesterday on my show, Methods to Madness, on my channel. Starting this Saturday, I am doing a third episode a week of Methods to Madness at 8 p.m. Eastern, the hour before Red Pill show here on this channel. So you guys have a mini block, and I am talking to other people that are starting shows right before that. So there's going to be a pretty cool schedule that's panning out right now, hopefully. So 8 p.m. Eastern this Saturday, I'll be doing that. Here's the rapid fire link of my channel. And besides that, we've got 4,600 people hanging out with us, which is awesome. 1.5 thousand likes. I think we can shoot to 2 real quick. What do you say, guys? And any donations that you guys have done has been fantastic, and we appreciate it.
Yes, guys. And then also right there is the link to the GoFundMe for the event. So if you guys are so inclined, then you can donate. If not, then you're welcome to register and then come to the event. We just had 19 people just donate, you guys, so thank you very much. I appreciate your help. We are going to do it regardless, like I said. All right, so yeah, definitely make sure that you're subscribed to Methods. Make sure your notifications are turned on. And if you do that and you still don't get notifications, then definitely write down the schedule. Now, Methods, I will say, I get notified of every single show that you do. So I feel like that's pretty good for your channel.
I appreciate it. A few people do tell me that, but it's, it is what it is. If not, if you don't catch it live, catch it later. If you don't want to catch it at all, that's cool too.
Yeah.
But, I wanted to practice what we preach about people doing their own stuff and starting channels if they feel, like they want to and stuff. So instead of me just saying everybody should do it, I figured I should myself. And I have a lot of, I have to give a lot of credit and thanks to you for pushing me to do it, and a lot of people as well that's been saying I should. So
you're very welcome.
Thank you guys for that.
All right, so now yesterday my video was all about the recently announced complete and total D-class without redactions. President Trump authorizing that, telling them to go ahead and do it. And like clockwork, DNI Ratcliffe yesterday released a new batch of Spygate documents to the DOJ, specifically to John Durham and his team. It was something like 1,000 documents, wasn't it?
Just about is what I think was the actual. They said it was just about 1,000. It was handed to Durham. So where it goes from there. Now, I still believe if we're being told this, I kind of will say this is optics, and this documents were probably already in Durham's hands. It's just there has to be a optic, watching a movie, if we want to say that we're playing roles here, that this information would have probably already been in Durham's hands, because Barr was already authorized full declassification for anything that he needed to look into. So he would have been able to already hand that over to Durham. So I just think a part of this is optics.
It also could have been, documents that had been released with redactions previously, and now the full unredacted versions being given out. Either way, but yes, there is definitely a certain amount of optics in this, because people need to know this. People need to see this happening, because with each new set of documents and all the evidence that they entail, it puts us closer and closer to the final answer, which is justice for the American people. So, Ratcliffe said, "I will continue to ensure the intelligence community's responsiveness to the DOJ's requests. We also look forward to supporting the DOJ in further declassifications consistent with their investigation, and we look forward to supporting the DOJ in further declassifications. As President Trump made clear, we must be transparent with the people and give them the confidence that the extraordinary work of Intel Pros is never misused or politicized." Now, reassuring us that that's the case is not the same thing as, that being put into action. Because clearly, up until this point, these Intel Pros have misused and they have misprioritized the vast weight of all of the tools that they've had. It's been used overwhelmingly against President Trump and against people on the right. And in order for this to change, we must have arrests. There must be some indictments, if not many, 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 many indictments, because these people have quite literally brought us to the brink of destruction. Okay? Also yesterday, there was a post specifically that was in reference to Senator No Name, also to Paul Ryan. I thought that was very interesting, the one to Paul Ryan. And also what was interesting is that we had the Jack Ryan post and then also the Paul Ryan post. So I think there were more than a few people that were trying to connect those two. But, also brought up the memory of that missile being launched from Whidbey Island in, what was that, in Washington?
I don't remember the exact location of that. That was, God, that feels like forever ago.
It does, man. It does, but yeah, skunkbayweather.com. I'm pretty sure that was in Washington. But yeah, I mean, God, just think back to that, dude. Like, the energy in the air when that happened. I mean, and I think people might have forgotten about it by now because there's so much news that's come out. We got the reminder about the missile in Hawaii, too. There was just so many things happening over and over and over and over again. And the media constantly saying that we're going to go to war with North Korea. And then President Trump, meeting with Kim Jong-un. I mean, that was like just put your thumb in their eye, Mr. President.
Yeah, sometime after the election, we probably need to discuss doing like a memory lane show and just really talking about all the things that we went through in the first term, because it's been that much. We forget about these things all the time, and then it gets reminded to us, whether it's by our favorite anon or a meme gets spread around that reminds us of a certain time period. But as far as what you're talking about needing indictments and stuff to happen, I'm sure, I don't know if you caught Trump this morning on he was with Maria on her show that she does in the mornings during the week, and if you notice, his tune has changed from "they got caught, let's see what happens" to "there needs to be indictments. Why are people not arrested yet?" And he's really turning the screws on that. And it kind of makes you wonder. I'm not trying to put out some kind of hope prawn or anything, if anybody knows what I mean by saying that. There feels like a different stir in the air that he's going to say that, because what is he going to do? Keep saying that and pissing off his base up to the election. He wins and then he stops talking about it again. It doesn't line up to me unless we're heading down that path. And if we want to talk about how Trump's supposed to appear weak when you're actually strong, the art of war type stuff, that's on the playing field right now. The biggest attacks I'm seeing from the left and then people that are on the fence are Durham's not going to do anything, Barr's not going to do anything, nothing's going to happen to these people. That's cranked up even more so. Even though we're seeing movement happen, we're getting documents. We're now in the middle of D class as far as documents coming out. It's just like, if you really step back, I can't be crazy. It does feel like we are going to see something pivot that's going to be so big in an October surprise, if you will. And I think that there's going to be multiple ones, but I think specifically down that path of what we've been wanting, there's got to be, right? I mean, right before the election or right after, to change the narrative.
Yeah. I mean, it's necessary, and I think that you're spot on the money there. President Trump's rhetoric getting stepped up and moving from, let the good men and women of these agencies do their job, to like, what the F are you doing? Arrest somebody now, because it's so clearly obvious. I mean, we have everything. We know exactly what happened. We know the timeline. We know the guilty parties. We know the actual crimes. We know the crimes they tried to set them up with. We know absolutely every aspect of this, and it's very clear. Did you see John Brennan the other night trying to defend his memos that were just declassified?
Yeah, he was saying something along the lines of, well, I was briefing the president and doing my job, so what do you want me? That's the whole thing, is that they want to say that they were doing their job. They're following leads and doing what they're supposed to do. And when Trump says they got him caught, and then, we've gotten certain pieces that they can kind of spin, or at least try to, like what you just said, there's got to be just like on the money caught collusion amongst Hillary, Perkins Coie, the clowns, the FBI, the State Department, and then tying it all the way up to Obama knew it the entire time. And I think they were setting the stage with that, with what Brennan, his notes being released. Yeah, I think that they've got them on some stuff, and we're going to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear that they must have that stuff. It definitely is going to come out, and it's just a matter of allowing it to happen. Nobody wants this more than me, guys. Nobody wants it more than me and Methods. It is just, what it is. It has to happen on the way that it has to happen. Now, what is also going on behind the scenes here is that more people are speaking out specifically about Gina Haspel and her slowdown, this slow walking of these documents. Now, we've got a new letter from Grassley and Johnson, and they've sent it over to Clowns in America director Gina Haspel and the agency. And they've said, we are becoming increasingly disappointed by the clowns' continued inability to timely respond to our legitimate oversight requests regarding Russia records. This cannot continue. The American public has a right to know. So, just another example of stronger language that they're using. I mean, clearly, we're getting very close to the election. This is stuff that we should have had a very, very long time ago. And, the fact that they are slow walking it, it's, it's not too surprising, but it is one of those things that is probably, one of the most frustrating aspects of this entire scenario. And President Trump himself has also come out yet again against Christopher Wray, saying that he's been disappointing, and specifically in dismissing voter fraud claims. Christopher Wray put out a video, like a 10-minute video, with Paul Nakasone the other day from the Wizards and Warlocks, and then somebody else. Did you happen to catch that?
No, I don't think so. You'll have to catch me up on it.
I mean, he was talking about voting basically, and he's been dismissive of voter fraud, and it kind of boggles the mind unless you think that there's some element of Wray that wants to dismiss it because it's politically expedient to him and to the party that he's trying to elevate. It's very clear that there is a fair amount of voter fraud, and, it's been shown time and time again, and they keep dismissing it because it is the predominant source of their winning votes. That's the only answer to it.
Right. We're in the middle of all this, man. Like, we have every single piece of the moving forward of this country, getting past the election, getting, bills passed and stuff when it comes to the Rona and all that. We have, there can't just be something smooth. Mm-hmm. Even when the president does an executive order, which is supposed to be smooth, he signs it, puts it into law, let's move on. It gets, the entire last 4 years has been a mess. So, any of this is just not surprising at this point. And as far as the stuff talking about how, we're kind of in the middle of D-class and, arrests and stuff are on the horizon, Red Pill and I can agree with all of you that we personally believe a lot of this should happen a long time ago. And we do always talk about how there's probably more information that we aren't aware of that makes it to where the war gaming is its best for later. Mm-hmm. As far as the stonewalling of these documents, that's a gray area, right? Do we fully know that Wray and Gina are withholding these things and stopping it, or is there an Overton window that we're supposed to hit? Yeah, we don't know, but we'll find out. But I will agree with a lot of people that have saying that it's way past time. Yeah, like in my head, I do believe that things should have happened faster, but they didn't. We know it's now October 8th. I'm going to look forward and live in what's going on. And when it happens, it happens.
Absolutely. Let me just do a couple donations here because there's only a few. But DSAM says, please note and report on the show. POTUS is holding a radio rally tomorrow on Rush's show. Rush won't be there. Spread the word. So huge numbers. Listen in. Thank you, Red Pill. So President Trump doing a radio rally on Rush's show. Let's see. And another viewer says, our Pennsylvania newspaper states voter registration has increased by 8,044. The GOP has added 4,786 voters this year. That's great. That's from Crystal. Thank you, Crystal. Also, Susan says, okay, my hubby just... Sorry, it's not pulling up. My hubs just told me we're being considered for a huge contract. Please ask everyone to pray for us. It would be life-changing. Thank you. Please vote for our friend here that she and her husband get this contract. Obviously, it's going to make a big difference for them and their family, so we definitely will do that. Rana says, I was wondering if Nate knows Robin Grits. That's from the other day. Okay, so that's all we have for today. Thank you very much for those. Appreciate it, guys. Now, outside of the Russia investigation, Grassley and Johnson are also upset about the FBI stonewalling their oversight into Hunter Biden. Apparently, they have demanded additional answers, additional documents, specifically in regards to the bribe that Burisma paid, that $7 million bribe. But, they're just not getting the answers on this because, again, this is going to throw shade on so many different agencies. I mean, the FBI, the State Department primarily, obviously the Office of the President, the Vice President, but, we may get answers in a different manner because reported on this briefly the other day, but Joe Biden is the subject of a criminal investigation into his role in Spygate and their activities in Ukraine. Now, this is actually in Ukraine. I briefly reported on this the other day saying that, wait a second. Or is this in the United States? Ukrainian witnesses are cooperating. I think this might be in the United States. Joe Biden is now the subject of an active federal criminal investigation into his role in the CI probe directed at Trump's 2016 campaign. This is an American investigation. Wow. So you put this together with President Trump's tweet, wow, do something about this, the biggest of all political scandals in history. Joe Biden is the subject of a criminal investigation. This is all the information I have, guys, but this is it is the U.S. People are saying it. It is the U.S. It is the U.S. Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
because you've got the House and the Senate that have been calling for investigations to happen, and the Senate has been doing it. And then it just came out during, I think, this past week in the Ukrainian courts that Burisma, I think it was Burisma, and the audience can help us with it. They admitted to the bribe money.
Yep.
Going on in that, and they were like, well, no, you've got the number's just wrong, but yes, we did bribe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all going on behind the scenes, and I think it's completely smart for the president to wait while that court's going on, because we do have that anti-corruption treaty with them. We're supposed to cooperate. It would technically be against our foreign allies to not do so. And I think that they're letting this play out behind the scenes. And I think that if the timing's right, having Ukraine call for the arrest of Biden, for example, or Hunter right before the election and calling for it and saying no. And then Trump's like, all right, let's get through the election. Then Trump wins. Biden can be taken out over to Ukraine. And that's not Trump. We listened to the phone call. It was perfect.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I like daydreaming about stuff like that for sure.
Yeah, I think that would be quite amazing. And either way, it looks like Biden can be brought up on charges not only here in the United States, but also in Ukraine and maybe in a couple of other countries. We're going to see a lot of stuff wash out here. But this would be perfect. This would be perfect if Joe Biden was indicted just after the election, because then it wouldn't be about a political hit job. It would be about justice because he's no longer a candidate. And there you go. Biden gets taken care of. So very, very cool. Very, very cool. Now, you mentioned earlier Pelosi talking about the 25th Amendment again. And I never played the clip. It's a 4-minute clip, but let me just pull it up for a moment.
You could play literally like the 45 seconds, I think, and she gets into that.
Okay.
Play the first 45, and we apologize to anybody that's eating lunch. We're going to play Pelosi for a second, but this is where things are going, and you guys need to be aware of it.
Okay, let's take a listen.
Seems eager to do something. I mean, give us your prospects here of where you think things are, given your talks with Mnuchin and the president and McConnell's, I guess, hesitancy to or disagreement about the larger package. Can you just give us what your prospects are at this moment?
Well, I don't know what the prospects are when we hear people saying I'm young and I'm a perfect specimen.
Turn it up, Red Pill.
I can't. Oh.
What 50,000 people were.
What your prospects are at this moment?
Sorry, guys.
Well, I don't know what the prospects are when we hear people saying I'm young and I'm a perfect specimen instead of addressing the fact that what 50,000 people were. In fact, reports being affected yesterday, nearly 1,000 people died. What are we talking about here? Tomorrow, by the way, come here tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the 25th Amendment. but not to take attention away from the subject we have now. Okay, here's the thing. We've been working very hard.
All right, so that's it about the 25th Amendment. You know, this is quite clearly another play at trying to gain control in any way they possibly can, just grasping at straws. You know, who cares how the president... Wait, somebody says echo. What echo? I don't see any echo. I don't hear any echo. President Trump, who cares how he talks about his health? He's a virile man. He is the president of the United States. He can characterize his health in any way that he wants to. That is no reason to use the 25th Amendment to take him out from the office. If anybody needs to be removed from office for their mental health, I would argue that's Nancy Pelosi, or perhaps Adam Schiff, or perhaps any host of other Democrat congressmen and women in the... wait, you def had an echo? Do I still have an echo, guys?
They were talking about the video that you played. It might have been doubled up or something like that. If you just want to drop the link in the chat...
Yeah.
For everybody to have. But basically, she mumbled a bunch of nonsense about numbers. 50,000 didn't make sense of what she was talking about. Then she said 1,000 and then asked, what are we talking about here? Which is what I was asking myself while watching her.
Sure.
And then she talked about everybody needs to be back there for a press conference because they're going to discuss the 25th Amendment, which is basically removing the president from his power. And then it would go down the line of secession when it comes to Pence. They're having that discussion. That's where they're going with things. So now they're going to try to say that he is dealing with the virus and he's also dealing with being medicated. And they're going after the mental stability route. And so they're going to try to push this and try to say he's not fit for office because he's mental. We've seen this before. What is this now, the fourth time?
Yeah.
The fourth time in the last 4 years that they brought this up. So that's what they're going to push tomorrow is Trump's mentally unfit and steer into how he talks.
Okay. Well, I don't think it's going to go too far, guys. So not much to be worried about there. We've talked about Governor Gretchen Whitmer on the show a number of times. And I think that there's a lot of people in the state of Michigan that are not happy with what she's done. Obviously, the Michigan State Supreme Court just ruled that her use of executive powers was an overreach, a complete breach of the rights of the residents of the state of Michigan. And she refused to open everything back up and to go basically to a full normalized situation in Michigan. And many people were upset. Well, now there is a situation that has come to light, which I would say is very good for Gretchen Whitmer and the Democrats and for a national argument about who is dangerous in this country. And I find it very suspicious. But there has been a group of people, I believe they were in Ohio, but they were arrested by the feds, apparently in a plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. And, you know, I mean, when you read through the article, they're all of the people that are arrested are residents of Michigan, I guess, except for this one guy. But there was a press conference they were supposed to be holding today at 1 to discuss it. But it basically makes them sound as if they are some type of a violent militia. And they are going to take out Gretchen Whitmer because they consider themselves to be patriots and they think that Gretchen Whitmer is trampling on our constitutional rights. I find it highly suspicious.
Okay, first off, who really wants to kidnap her and hold on to her? Second of all, I mean, this does feel like a Subway, Bleach, Noose, MAGA country scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't buy it because it's politically convenient. And at this point, right before the election, when she just literally lost in the local Supreme Court or something there over like saying it was unconstitutional on what she was doing. So conveniently, a victim card comes out. I don't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really don't. I mean, this woman was willing to lock down the seeds for planting. I don't buy anything that's going on here that helps her, especially during this time.
Mm-hmm. Now, it sounds like there is an FBI informant in the group. And I want you guys to remember all of the various scenarios that were foiled by the FBI during the Obama administration. Every time you turned around, there was like a kid with, some mental disability, or like a pizza delivery driver who was given a box of blasting caps and told, to go carry out this thing. And then they'd arrest him and then say, look, we caught a bad guy who was going to, plant an explosive device. So I feel like this is a bit of a setup. Who in their right mind would think that it's a good idea to storm the Capitol building in the capital city of the state of Michigan and just snatch the governor and drag her out and then hold on to her? I mean, it's totally unrealistic. And especially in today's world, it just doesn't make any logical sense. Somebody was trying to set somebody else up. Now, the next thing that I'm saying we need to look for in the reporting of this story is, what kind of stuff did these guys follow online? Who were they following online? I mean, clearly they're already being set up as fans of the president. It's a natural extension of that to say that they are fans of this alphabet game, if you will. I don't even want to say it out loud.
Right. Well, I just sent you, somebody had brought up Robbie Starbuck in the chat. I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, but thank you. There's a video of one of the ringleaders that supposedly did this. I haven't listened to it for any language warnings. Maybe you just want to save it for your 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock whenever you drop your video tonight. But Robbie Starbuck here is saying this is a video of Brandon Caserta, Caserta, one of the ringleaders of the group of men arrested for a plot where the group planned to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Caserta has an anarchist flag behind him and in YouTube videos trashes police. Wow. He's not a Republican. He's an anarchist. And we know that they like to use these people to set up FFs and stuff, the flags that are false. So I'm just looking into this. I haven't had much time to give any more detail than that, but Robbie's on top of it.
This is an incredible development. Yeah, this guy, it looks like he's an anti-Fa punk rocker type. He's got the black flag with the red A on it. He's not a Republican. He's an anarchist. So that is an even stranger spin on this. But definitely, we need to keep an eye out for the way that they're going to try to report on this story going forward. Now, this is something that we brought up the other day on Occam's Razor, talking about cryptocurrency. It looks like the DOJ is kind of starting to lock down on how they're going to go about this stuff. But Attorney General Barr announced a publication of cryptocurrency enforcement framework. It is a publication produced by the Cyber Digital Task Force, and it provides a comprehensive overview of the emerging threats and enforcement challenges associated with the increasing prevalence and use of cryptocurrency. It details the important relationships that the Department of Justice has built with regulatory and enforcement partners within the United States and around the world, and it outlines the department's response strategies. Now, I mean, obviously, cryptocurrency can be used for bad things. Every time I talk about it, I see people in the chat saying, you use it for bad stuff. I mean, any form of currency is used for bad things, okay? Any form of currency is used for illegal activities. I think that one thing that people forget is that Bitcoin, it's a public ledger. I mean, if somebody sends money to another person, then they can track where it came from and who it's going to. And if it's for some major illegal activities, then they can use that as evidence against someone to then charge them as a result. So, don't dismiss cryptocurrency out of hand because you've heard that you can use it for, black market transactions on the deep web. You can do that with anything. It's been something that people have used in addition to cash, in addition to jewels, in addition to precious metals. I think that it was demonized early on because this is something that could potentially supplant traditional fiat currency, which is in the hands of the banks, the central banks, where Bitcoin, rather, is decentralized. Cryptocurrencies are not controlled by these financial organizations, so it would be in their own best interest to make people think that it is nefarious by its very nature.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that, but I mean, besides, it does have to be, cryptocurrency is a thing. So Barr's obviously going to have a plan to go about crimes that involve using cryptocurrency, because in the mind of a criminal, it's better than, shifting the money that way instead of meeting in a back alley to hand over suitcases of money or whatever, just for the analogy. So no, it's just good that it is, because that, like you said, if it's a currency, it could be used towards nefarious deals. But yeah, so it's just something that's going on, and I can appreciate an attorney general paying attention to it.
Yeah, most definitely. Oh, I totally forgot to talk about this earlier. But during the VP debate last night, Kamala Harris gave us a quote from President Abraham Lincoln. And it turns out that it's totally fake. Abraham Lincoln never said it. And I'm not going to play the video because obviously we had an echo last time. I don't know what the deal is. But let's see. She said, in 1864, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. In 1864, one of the, I think, political heroes, I assume for you, also Abraham Lincoln, he was up for re-election. It was 27 days before the election, and a seat became open on the United States Supreme Court. Abraham Lincoln's party was in charge not only of the White House, but the Senate, but Honest Abe said, it's not the right thing to do. The American people deserve to make the decision, blah, blah, blah. But Abraham Lincoln never said that. It's not even close to anything he said. Newt Gingrich said Kamala Harris's use of Lincoln to justify not nominating a Supreme Court justice was totally false. The Senate was not in session, and the minute it came into session, Lincoln nominated a justice. She's either really ignorant or just lied. So yeah, just another example of them lying. I mean, and just expecting that we're not going to be smart enough to figure this out.
Right. They're trying to get to the finish line, hoping to use the mail-in ballot fraud stuff to shoehorn in their presidency. So they're just deny, make bold statements that aren't true, and the media is going to cover for them. And then they're going to push forward. This is basically, when it comes to their voting, this is an NPC, non-playable character voting cycle for them. They don't care if they're lying or not. They're just going to follow their pattern and hope to win. And I'm just curious on what they are holding on to for the next few weeks. What is their considered October surprise? I know that they've been lying and dropping these bombshells on the president when it comes to books being dropped, sources saying things, all that. I mean, is the 25th Amendment it? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that the 25th Amendment could be it. I don't think that they have anything legitimate that they can drop on the president. I mean, all of the worst stuff, I mean, they dropped it before the election in 2016 and then after when they were trying to remove him from office. I mean, if you can imagine, they expended all of their ammunition prior to this. I mean, we've been going on this for 4 years plus. Okay, before he was even president, back when he was a candidate, they have just been continually unloading different people, different scenarios, different bits of information and falsified evidence. And now that we're here just before the election, I mean, what else do they have left? This is their last great hope to finally use that 25th Amendment, because they've suggested using it, obviously, on a number of occasions in the past. This is the last thing they can do. If they can somehow remove the president by saying that he is mentally unsound, and I think that maybe they were considering doing it while he was in the hospital. They were hoping that he was going to be so sick that they would have to do it, and that they would have to move power to at least Pence or perhaps Pelosi, because she said that she was second in line for the presidency, even though she's not. I'm sorry, she was next in line for the presidency, but she's second. I think that this is it. This is the only thing that I think they can do, because I can't imagine there are any more scandals or there are any more things out there unless they just have somebody make something up, another Me Too moment, perhaps.
All right, I'll bite on what you're saying here, because you can see how that could have played out, because there have been theories out there, and once again, their theories, don't run with them as fact, basing this channel as your source, that they were really wanting him to be infected right at the election, right before it, to where then they can use it to their advantage and say, well, the president's dying, you might as well vote for Joe type stuff. But having it happen and how they played that out of him, he's really, really sick. He's not long for this world, knocking on death's door. He's on all these medicines. He's speaking crazy. having all that go on into a 25th Amendment talk while he was still in the hospital, that I'll bite on. I think that would be definitely a ploy for them to use to say that he's not fit to be president because of that going on. But the fact that he bounced back so quickly, I don't think they saw that coming.
Yeah, I think that was the last thing that they thought was going to happen. They figured, he's in that age bracket. It's like the worst place to be if you're going to come down with it. They figured this is it. Our moment has finally come. We finally got rid of the old bag, and now we're going to put President Pelosi in office. Unfortunately, that did not work out. President Trump has the best medical care on the face of the earth, and now he's going to deliver that exact same quality of care to the rest of the country. I'm not particularly worried about voting on November 3rd. I think that, honestly, that's something that could happen. That's the last possible last-ditch effort would be if they had a planned event, like, say, at a polling station. Can you imagine that?
Oh, absolutely. Some kind of big FF event going on around that time would completely push things back, right? Because, that would be the intent of it, is to have it to where you wouldn't have the answer then during the election that we're used to, is if they're having this FF and fear going around. I don't know, man, but I think that this is being planned for. There's a sense of calm that I have, and maybe I don't think I'm the only one, maybe the audience can agree with me, that there's a sense of calm going into this. It's more of a nervous excitement on how this is going to play out, because it is going to be time that we're going to want to remember and tell future generations about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Guys, start your journals now. All right. Start writing down your experiences, everything that's happening, and make sure that you continue to come to every episode of Occam's Razor, every episode of Red Pill News, every episode of Friday and Saturday Night Livestream, every episode of Comfy Sunday, every episode of Methods to Madness. There is no shortage of documentation for the insanity of this world as we move into this election. It is going to continue to heat up. There's no doubt about it. And I'm just glad that we're here to see it, dude, because I certainly never imagined that this was going to be my life at 42. I did not see this coming, and I'm very, very happy to be here with all of you guys. You guys, we are coming up on just 5 minutes before the end of the show. I just want to say thank you to everybody who has participated, everybody who's helped out the show. We did have our friend Andrew donate for the event, for the MAGA meetup. So thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. And then let me just check and see if there's any more that came in on PayPal. And we have... yes, Robert. Thank you very much, Robert. Appreciate that, buddy. Now, let me go ahead and refresh my screen here, and we'll get... Oh, shoot, I lost it. Well, whatever. I've put the link into the chat box. We're going to do that again. That's the wrong one. Here it is right here. Here it is right here.
And while you're doing that, I know some people are heading for the door. If you guys don't mind turning that thumb blue if you haven't already. 2.4 thousand likes. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate you guys being here for this show. And then tomorrow I will be on my channel with Methods to Madness with 412, who happens to have this show starting here in an hour, and it'll be with Dilly and Quite Frankly. So it's always a good time. Taking It Back, their show on Thursdays, are definitely a highlight for me to watch. So I'm going to drop that link in the chat for their show. And then we got a lot of good stuff coming up, Red Pill. Let's go ahead and let people know what we're doing this weekend.
Yeah, on Friday night, I have a PhD. Her name is Ginger Mckenzie. She's going to be coming on the show to tell us about all of the shenanigans taking place at Fort Hood. Lots of murders, lots of disappearances. So we're going to get to the bottom of that. Tommy G is going to be back on Saturday, and then X22 Report is going to be back on Sunday for Comfy Sunday. So it's going to be an excellent weekend, guys. And as we gear up for our event next week, please continue to come here to this channel and get the latest information on everything that's going down. I might start doing something, small earlier on the weekends, like first thing in the morning. I don't know if I have to kind of get my chops together with that to decide exactly what's going to happen. But There we go. That is the link for the MAGA meetup if you guys want to go ahead and register. Also on the Twitter link that I put in there, if you guys are coming, put your name on that Twitter thread so that we have a list of everybody that's coming. So then we have your handles and we can give you shout outs and stuff for participating. But yeah, I got a bunch of good stuff coming up for you at 6 p.m. for Red Pill News. It'll probably be a little bit after 6, maybe closer to 6:30, just because I got to go feed the dogs, walk the dogs. You guys, I played Walking Dead Onslaught last night for like an hour and a half, and I'm telling you, like stabbing zombies in the head. I probably killed 250 zombies, and I can barely lift my arms. It's a physically draining type of thing playing these video games nowadays, but it was a lot of fun. If you guys like video games, I suggest you play Walking Dead Onslaught. It was just a great time. Can't say enough good stuff about it.
I wish you guys could have heard the excitement from him telling me about playing that game. It was definitely something animated and awesome. But yeah, and also just remember this Saturday, right before because you said Tommy G's on Saturday, right?
Yep.
Right before that show on my channel at 8 p.m. Eastern, I'll be doing Methods to Madness, the first Saturday live show, and our buddy Conscious Abe, or now known as Uncensored Abe and stuff on his new channel, he's going to be co-hosting that show with me that Saturday, and then I'll announce then who's going to be on with me the following week. We're going to kind of change it up on Saturday, so it's going to be pretty cool.
All right, and then I forgot I'm actually co-hosting with Uncensored Abe on his new channel on Friday at 5 p.m., so guys, go ahead and check that out too. All right, guys. Well, thank you everybody for being here. I appreciate you hanging out with us and having this nice chat every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. Thank you to the mods for keeping the chat comfy. We've got 2,700 likes, 4,600 people still here. Please leave a like on your way out the door. Share the program. Follow us on Twitter if you haven't yet. Make sure that you're still subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you got notifications turned on. And I will see you guys back tonight at 6 p.m. or roughly thereafter for another episode of Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.